recently realized that I was carrying my first love into every single relationship after that. You see, this happened so long ago. I thought I was healed. I thought I let time, because you know how they say time heals all, right? They always say just give it some time and you'll get over it. This happened over 10 years ago. And I realized that I was keeping pieces of it and I was putting it into every single person that I was in a relationship with after that. Let me just tell you about her. We met in high school. We met freshman year of high school, so that was back in 2014. We met, and I remember seeing her down the hallway, and I was like, yo, who is that? Never approached her because yeah. So I never approached her. I remember that back then we'll switch from gym to health class, and we just sat next to each other or something like that in health, and we just ended up talking. And again, when we first met, I was never looking for a relationship. We weren't like that. I found her attractive, but we just never really made it romantic. So when we first started, you know, she did her thing, I did my thing, but we were just friends. So she started playing volleyball, started going to her games, and we actually built an actual friendship. Like, this girl was my best friend. Like, we ended up that year, like, we would text every single day, we would call every single day. Our families would go to get together, they would hang out, all different stuff. Like, it was just a natural like friendship. It was a natural thing that was made because of our intentions weren't because we wanted a relationship. Our intentions were we were just cool with each other. Like, we made each other laugh. When we argued, we would get right back after a day or whatever. Like, we would apologize, we'll keep moving forward, and we were pushing each other to be better. What really clicked for me was that this whole time I had feelings for this person, but I just never knew, because I just remember that when she wasn't in school, I remember I would miss her perfume. I would miss the person who was next to me. I would be like, damn, that's such a boring day. She would light it up, right? Her laugh would be contagious. I remember her jokes, even though they were stupid, her jokes would make me laugh. And I remember that it was just, for me, she was like a priority. For me, it was like, if she was hurt or if something was happening, I remember she would get hurt in volleyball, whatever, I'll be worried about it. And I couldn't go a day without talking to her. I couldn't go without us like doing stuff together, whatever the case may be, right? And it was healthy. It wasn't like an obsession. It wasn't like, you know, I'm freaking fighting guys to get to her. No, it wasn't anything like that. It was just it was just something about her. Like, it went hours. Like, sometimes we would spend on the phone 8 hours together. We would spend however long it was, and it didn't feel like it. It was just, time would stop when we talked and all that different stuff. So I started realizing that I was liking this girl. And at the time I was in a relationship, and that became a mess. That was crazy. But fast forward, I want to say the beginning of junior year. So we were friends for around 2 years. And I just remember that junior year, she had a volleyball game. After that volleyball game, she called me over, and I was like, what up? What's happening? And I remember she put, like, I think it was my sweater, I don't remember, but she put like my sweater like around both of us, and then she kissed me. And I was like, what? I don't know what happened, but it also was that's the kind of person she was. I say was because I haven't talked to her in forever, but that's how she was. It was like, it's on the spot. It felt right. And it's crazy because for other people, it was at their volleyball game, and she's sweaty, and it wasn't a good time, but for us, it was the perfect time. So after that, it became more romantic. I was going to her house for like a lot. I was probably like every day. We ended up getting together. We ended up having a relationship. And for me, during that relationship, I just remember that I never was scared of it ending. For me, this was everything. For me, I remember being so in love with this person that I really wanted to be married. I wanted us to have kids. I wanted us to have a future. There was nothing bad about this, right? And that's just how it was until, obviously, eventually, I'm not married. I don't got kids. And like I said earlier, we haven't talked. Broke up, right? She texted me I was on our way to like the beach or something like that. I don't remember. I just remember getting that breakup text, and I remember my heart shattered, and I remember I was like, whoa, it just caught me off guard. I was like, what? And I never got a why for it until so many years after, but at that time I didn't get a why for it, so it made me shut down. I brought walls up. I became very scared. It gave me like, it like kind of took my innocence in the aspect of everything ends now for me. Like for me, it wasn't like things don't last. And I know it sounds very dramatic, but that's just how it shifted in my brain, where I was like, oh, it must have been that I was being too much. It must have been that I was being too much of Xavier. All these qualities I started like taking away from me, and I was just like, you know what, whatever. I did my whole senior year. I ended up being in a rebound relationship, but all we did was have fun. I lasted a couple months. Then after that, I got into a relationship that lasted 3 years. And that relationship, I was looking for my first love. I was looking for somebody who understood it. I was looking for someone who was going to accept me for me, but I still had my walls up. I was still hiding behind all these walls. Like, I didn't really talk to that person about real stuff, like things I've been through, my present, where I wanted to go. Like, it wasn't like that. We were never that close, and it was 3 years. After that, time passed by, whatever, got into another relationship, and I got into this relationship because I ran from somebody else that reminded me as like of my first love, because we were best friends. And that I got too scared. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I ran into this relationship. We lasted for a little bit, but then I brought my walls down a little bit, and then we ended up breaking up. So that just brought my walls up all the way up. And then I ended up being in a situation where I wasn't in a relationship with somebody, but I only been in love twice. That's it. The one in high school, and then this last person. This last person was a person that was emotionally unavailable, but when we first started like talking, because we worked together, when we first started talking, it was like we weren't gonna get in a relationship, so I wasn't scared about this person judging me. I wasn't scared about this person getting to know me or whatever the case is, because we're never gonna be in that romantic level. And what ended up happening was that we got so deep in knowing each other that I knew everything about this girl. Like, I knew everything from her past, present, future. I knew everything and all whatever. And it ended up being like my first love. It ended up being that we were such best friends. We ended up calling, texting, all the different stuff. I got into a situation where I knew it wasn't good for me, but I felt for this person, right? And I'm not saying anything bad about these people. I will never erase them from my history. They're a big part of my story. They just don't write my chapters anymore. They're a part of the story, but they're no longer a part of who I'm trying to become. And what made me realize this was that I wasn't being honest with myself. It wasn't the person I was missing. It wasn't the person I loved so much, or the person that I was loving that I was missing so much. What I was missing was the person that I was. It was the person who was there, that innocent kid, that didn't believe that things can end like that. The kid that didn't believe in, or that kid that did believe in fairy tales. The kid that he was a hopeless romantic. That kid that truthfully didn't see a bad in this world, if that makes sense. And I know it sounds dramatic, but I was carrying it, and I wasn't allowing people to really get to know me. I wasn't allowing people to see beyond. I was just leaving them on page 1. I was leaving them in a place where they didn't really get to read up the book. They didn't get to read the story. They couldn't even form an opinion on me, because the person I was showing wasn't even me. And I remember I posted a video putting on a mask and stuff like that. That's exactly what happened. I created that mask after all this. And again, it has nothing to do with my first love. It's because I lost myself. I lost myself in all of these things, where I put myself in a situation that I knew it wasn't good for me. Now, for you, it might not be that, it might not be your first love. It could have been whatever you want to put in that place. It could have been your family. It could have been parents. It could have been people you were looking for the approval of. We're carrying the disappointment, or you're carrying the weight of something that happened in your past that shaped you for who you are today, even though that isn't who you're supposed to be, if that makes sense. You're like, it's like a distaste. It's like a bad taste in your mouth that came from somebody else, but you're judging the meal that's in front of you. Does that make sense? Like, you're You tasted like an appetizer. It was horrible. So now you have that bad taste in your mouth. So when you eat your entree, you think they're tasting the same, but they're two different meals. If that makes any sense. I don't want to confuse y'all, but a lot of us are carrying things that are no longer meant to be carried. We're carrying things that happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that all you have to do is let go of. It has to click in your head that the person that you are today is wonderful. The person that you are today is a good human being. The person that you are today is not that little innocent kid anymore. You have experience, but you can still be loved. You can still be joyful. You can still pay attention to the small things now. And the reason I'm also making this video is because I was so focused in finding that person again that I was no longer trying to give people the opportunity to show me new things, if that makes any sense. So what am I trying to say here? What is the point of this whole entire video? Why are you still in this video? Is because just because people are part of your story doesn't mean they're part of every single chapter. Be blessed, be encouraged, stay positive. As always, you are loved.